preparing to live stream the webinar. Wish I could have made some kind of an announcement on YouTube, but okay.
You can do that next time.
Yeah.
Future.
There we are. Oh gosh, I gotta. Okay.
That next time.
Okay. It's showing us on YouTube, but I don't want to leave it. Anyway, I see some. Oh, we've got a bunch of people on YouTube. Besides, let me come back to Zoom. Lost you guys. Can you still? Oh, here it is. Okay. We're streaming live on YouTube, and we are broadcasting. We've got over 100 people. So let's knock it out, baby. Let me start that recording. Hola, buenos dias, ¿cómo está? I've got it in gallery mode. I think everybody can see all of us. Give a nice big wave. Okay, we've got Jules from Australia and Sol from Norway. So we're spanning the globe. It's fantastic. And thank you for coming and showing up and wanting to delve deeper into yourselves using the tools and understanding and ancient wisdom of the stars. Yeah. So today we want to just not go into the stars, but the planets actually are wandering stars. That's what planets actually came from. And we're doing a whole module as part of our learning the astrology for the soul. Okay, the complete course for chart interpretation. We did module 1 that had to do with all the signs and the stars. And now we're doing this module 2 starting February 2nd. And it's going to go into the planets and the houses. And then when you've got the signs and the planets and the houses, you're going to start looking at a chart and it's going to start meaning, it's going to start making sense. It's very, very, very exciting. So, you know, we want to take a little bit of time today. We want to give you something to go home with and understand your chart a little bit more. I hope you have your chart or know your chart or printed out your chart for today's webinar. We're going to go through each planet and give you a little something. Okay, so let's jump in. I'm going to be, you know, in the module, of course, I'll be working with the sun. and the sun is not technically a planet, okay, but it is the center of the solar system, and it is representing our power, our nuclear energy that charges. The sun lights up the whole solar system. So your sun, by sign and house and other planetary aspects, just really is your core, your individual truth, power, purpose is just, you know, to creatively express, shining your light. So if you're an Aquarius, you're shining your light from Aquarius. If you're Leo, you're shining your light from Leo. In fact, that you have to understand that the constellation is out here. Let's say this is the constellation of Taurus, and the sun is here. It's huge, and here's the tiny little Earth, right? So the sun is blocking Taurus. You can't see Taurus because the sun is so bright. So it's like, who's ever born when that sun is in Taurus, they are representing that energy for us to witness, see, experience. In the case of Taurus, it would be taste, touch, smell, and whatever, but I'm not going to go there. What I'd like to do is I'd like to go through a little bit, you know, also of, you know, that each, this course has also got an online forum. We've got a Facebook group page. We've got all kinds of goodies to give you today and in the course, as part of this whole big, huge package. And probably to me, what sets this whole thing, aside and is being very different than all these other courses offered on, on the web or wherever, is the workbook. We've got an amazing workbook for you. So it's not just listening to videos and chatting on, Facebook or the forum or something like that. You have a workbook, and I want to share my screen with you to show you this workbook because it is amazing. Yeah. Let's see how I do this. Like I've never done it before. Get that. Check it out. So for each and every, lesson on each and every planet, we will tell you all about what the glyph is about. We'll tell you the astronomy of the particular planet and the size and the, orbital period and everything. We will tell you about the mythology of each and every one of the planets. And, and like the sun, it's also Ra, the Egyptian sun god, right? And Apollo and Helios. So there's way more that you will be receiving. This astrological cycle, okay, is what goes on with that. And then we go into, this is all, you're able to print all of this out. This is just the sun, and it's like 10 or 11 pages on the sun. This is like a 100-page workbook. We talk about the function of each one of the planets. We talk about the shadow of each one of the planets. We're going to give shadow keywords for each one of the planets. And then we're going to give you some examples. The sun by sign and house is going to, so you get this understanding, especially if you did module 1, right? That the signs, but now we put the signs and the planets into houses, and we start to really make sense of the chart. And then, probably my favorite part, ready? We give you 3 charts of celebrities. So you can look at these celebrities charts and look at all of the planets in all of their signs and houses. I've got Madonna, Mick Jagger, and Donald Trump because they are like solar sun, like boom, in your face kind of people, right? And then we have the whole section of questions, exercises, for you to explore your own chart and your own reality and gain a greater understanding of yourself, as well as going and getting a greater understanding of the planet. Yes, and of course the houses. And then we give you the, the final one is for your own practice. Go into, so what is the sun in Leo in the 12th house that Madonna has got? Oh, I've got the sun in Leo in the 12th house. It's me and Madonna, baby. Okay. So I just wanted to, I just wanted to show off the frickin', workbook a little bit before I pass on the torch. But so this sun in through each one of the signs is the power, the nuclear power generating the light and the power of towards Mercury and Mars and Venus. And the more that you are your sun, the more that you express your sun, you are expressing your creative, conscious individuality, and the whole chart becomes more emboldened, emblazoned, and you leave a huge legacy behind on planet Earth long after you die. Just for a little drama, because the sun and Leo have to do with drama. Okay, I want to pass the torch on to Christina She is amazing. She will be talking to us today and giving us a little bit of insights into the moon and Mercury. Take her away.
Great. Thank you, Kai Pacha. Hi, everyone. It's Christina. And I just wanted to invite you to just really consider how evolutionary astrology, to begin with, is different than a lot of the other astrology out there. You know, some people come to New Paradigm Astrology if you're part of the community and you just love what Kai Pacha has been sharing, like every week on the Paleo Report. And you may not realize that we actually are dedicated to a branch of astrology called evolutionary astrology. And that's probably why it might really ring true on a deep level for you, how we approach our astrological practice, because in evolutionary astrology, there's a lot of emphasis on bringing consciousness into the individual life. And a lot of that has to do with accessing the soul, seeing what the soul is intending for the life, how the soul helps to create our experience of life. And in evolutionary astrology, we have some very specific teachings around the planets that you see there are a little bit different than some of the other astrological teachings that you see out there. And it's because everything is very intentional. You know, while we are dedicated to the ancient practice of astrology, we also believe in the evolving of the soul and the evolving of the practice of astrology. I'll be teaching on the moon and Mercury. And so the moon actually, I think from evolutionary astrology, is really, really interesting, because some of the older teachings say the moon is like your complete unconscious, like you're totally unconscious from the moon level. And as we know, the moon has to do with emotions. Oops, I don't know what just happened there. Sorry. The moon is our emotions. And, you know, think about it. Aren't you conscious of your emotions, right? Sometimes you might be taken over by your emotions when you're not conscious of them. And other times you are very, very real in a very visceral way, feeling and expressing and understanding your emotional life, because it's your emotional reality, right? And so the more we can bring consciousness to our emotional life and to how we are imprinted by our emotions and how our early childhood imprinted us and our emotional responses, then we can more consciously work with our moon level. And so I think this is really important to understand, that every single word that we've chosen for the workbook and for our teachings are very intentional. And in fact, we all put in our own input for every one of these teachings. And so this is a really crafted course that we all really put our heart into. And so you'll see that when we look at even these planets that we think we know, right, like the moon and Mercury, Mercury is the mind. You know we go nutty during Mercury retrograde. And what more can we learn about Mercury? But Mercury actually is about taking the depth of the subconscious knowing and bringing it up to the consciousness. It's the realm of the mind. And think about how our mind really has a lot of perspective on how we approach life and how we organize the world around us. And sometimes when we have these paradigm shifts, kind of like what New Paradigm is meant to do, that can really shatter our reality. And that is partially the realm of our mind. And so when we look at how we can access the mind, and as we can align with our perspective, but also like take a step back, be the witness, and not fully identify with just our mind level, that helps us to have more consciousness in our overall perspective of the world and our perspective of ourselves. You know, we can change our perspective more consciously when we know how much we're identifying with the mind. So a lot of these teachings, with this course, even though it sounds pretty simple, we're focusing just on the planets, the players in the astrology chart. We really want to go to a depth level. What do they mean even further beyond just our day-to-day experience of life, right? How can we bring consciousness to how we behave in life, things that happen to us, and how the archetypes of the planets are the players that we can embody and we can also play with. So we really want to make this course a course where you can embody your chart. You can look at the planets as actors in your life and as actors within you that you can always not only embody, but help to direct consciously and help to bring you at a new level of your personal evolution. So if anyone has any questions, I'm happy to chat with you in the chat box. And let's see, Samir says moon in 4th house with Gemini conjunct with sun and 2nd Aquarius. That's a lot of moon and that's a lot of Gemini and moon in the 4th house. That is the home of the moon, right? The moon is at home archetypally in Cancer and in the 4th house. And so we'll be playing around with a lot of these paradoxes with where the planets are, in what sign, in what house. So actually, even though the emphasis is on the planets, we'll be doing some puzzle work where we're going to put a lot of these archetypes together and kind of create, kind of like artists, looking at your natal chart as the palette with which you can create from. So I'm super looking forward to you joining us in the course. We start February 2nd, so I hope you'll join us. And that's it for the moon and Mercury. I'm going to pass this on to Sul, who is doing Mars and Venus. So Sul, are you ready?
Yes, I am ready. I was born ready. And I actually, I had the great privilege of learning astrology from my father when I was a teenager, actually way before that too. And he always said to me, Sul, you have to meditate on the planets. You have to get to know them. You have to reach for the planets. You have to get in touch with them. In other words, contact them. These are, we are living in anima mundi. We are living in a universe that is alive. It's vibrant with life. And each planet has its own dimension. Each planet is a dimension, as Christina mentioned. Mercury is the dimension of the mind, the logistic mind, the day-to-day activities of the mind. For this particular course, I'm getting deep into Mars and Venus, and for me, it's always a pleasure to sort of delve deeper into these two, who both represents a polarity in astrology. And this is what we're going to learn about too. Energy often shows up as a polarity, a plus and a minus, a yin and a yang. And you might say that Mars and Venus are a yin and a yang. Venus is a feminine principle of union, of connection, of harmony, of creating melody out of life. Whereas Mars is the principle of separation, of individuation, of creating an individuality in life. And both of them are necessary. And when we look at our own charts, we see how our Mars and Venus, how they're aspected through other planets and what sign they are in and what house they are in. And we get to know a little bit of ourselves in that particular realm that they represent. And that's very important in order to understand how you react and act in relationships in particular. I relate, therefore I am, is an old African saying. And relationships for us in general means a lot. Both Mars and Venus are called personal planets, so they relate very much to our personal values. For instance, Venus, what we find beautiful, what we value with ourselves, the inner side of Venus, Taurus, and what we value in others, which is the outer side of Venus, operating through the sign of Libra. And it goes to show how we can create value and valuable experiences in our own life. We don't want to waste time, do we? We want to have valuable experiences. We want to enjoy life with all our senses. We want to smell the flower of life and truly and thoroughly enjoy it. And that's the principle of Venus. Through the goddess of love, we connect with life through beauty and love. She's a virtuous kind of energy, and she turns human beings into aspiring lovers. And yes, both these planets has a lot to do with your sexual and sensual life. Mars represents the raw libido, the passion. We want to have the passion, right? And Venus, that soft, gentle tenderness, the touch, the appreciation of each other. Now, that's an art form in itself. And we know through numerous people on Earth who are good with art and who are good with expressing themselves, that they create beauty wherever they go. So I'm thoroughly excited to be able to present this material for you guys, because I know through experience and through observation that, well, the realm of relationship is not an easy realm. We have a lot to learn about ourselves. We have a lot to learn about our values, what we value, how to value ourselves. And through Mars, we have a lot to learn about the masculine principle, how to not be disturbed all the time by the constant ebb and flow of life, and be steady as a warrior in our own lives. And both men and women need these two to operate in harmony with each other in order to have a successful love life, which we all want eventually, whatever that looks like for you, right? And not just a love life. I think I will extend the idea of making love to life to a much larger vision. It's everything that you do in life, wherever you go in life. Yes, Christina, making love to life. Now, that's why we have these two beautiful mythologies. These mythologies are real, the archetypes are real, and the more we delve into these archetypes, we get in touch with ourselves. And it is truly a joyous experience. I remember first when I started out reading about astrology and my chart in particular, I remember reading a piece about Mars in Taurus, which is my Mars placement. And I remember going, oh, well, that makes sense. Really? Okay, now I understand why I'm so territorial, why I can be so stubborn at times, and so on and so forth. And it's, that's the joy of astrology. You get to know yourself, but not just yourself. You also get to know those people who trigger you, and where we are going to war with life, for instance, and where we put up resistance, and where we're not able to create union of diversity, which is the principle of Venus. So through Mars and Venus, we are exploring war and peace. We're exploring action and non-action, you might say. We're exploring receiving and giving. And yes, I hope you'll all enjoy it as much as I did creating this. And also I hope that you will have that privilege it is to be able to touch the planets, not just through words, not just through learning through the mind, but also learning through reaching for the planets. I remember there was this magnificent Venus passage in 2012, and I was all geared up. I wanted to go see the Venus passage, but I couldn't keep awake, of course. I passed out at 3 a.m. in the morning, but I had the most wonderful dream about being on Venus. I'd been spending so much time thinking about Venus that in my dream, I was walking around on Venus. And that's how you contact the planets. And that's astrology made simple for you. So before I get all crazy about these things, I'll pass the torch to Julia, who's going to present Saturn and Jupiter. Jules, you there? Darling, we can't hear you. We can't hear you. Sorry, babe. You're pretty to look at, but we want to hear you too. I don't know. Take out the thing. There you go. We're here.
What about now?
We hear you.
You hear? Okay, I don't know. these weren't working for some reason. They were working before. But anyway, thank you, Sol. I love how you said making love to life. Astrology is so much like that. The more we find out about ourselves, as Sol was saying, finding out the first time we have, you know, Saturn in whatever sign and going, oh my God, that's so much me. It explains so much about my life and how it's been. And every time we look more into whatever Saturn we have or any planet, we're just going to get more information about how to be better at being ourselves. And, you know, all of us that have been doing astrology for a long time, we have seen it work and explain people's lives to ourselves, our own lives to ourselves, the people around ourselves. And it really helps us to kind of gel the whole meaning of life together. And as we sort of continue this course to do the planets are probably the most interesting thing to learn, I think, and probably one of the most important things to learn, because pretty much you can do whole readings just about the planets and the signs. If you didn't have the aspects, you know, you've still got so much information about where the planets are, what signs they're in and how they interact. So knowing the planets, they're just so full of character. They have so much character that they're just, you know, as Christina was saying, it was like you start painting the palette of your astrology chart. So to know the planets well is really, really significant. Although having said that, you'll never stop learning about the planets, the signs, the interactions, the aspects in astrology as long as you do it, because you're always going to be forever informed. But the most important thing about learning astrology is getting a really good foundation. I say that to people all the time, because in this day and age, there's so much dabbling in astrology. There's bits and pieces. I've read a book of this. I've read so many authors and different sort of takes on astrology. Where am I? People get so confused. So being, you know, on one track for at least the first 2 years, or even just the first year, do yourself a favor and get a really good grounding, and then you can go anywhere. You know, then you can go anywhere from there. Anyway, so just a bit of that background, but I'm going to be doing probably, well, they're all important. All the planets are important, but Jupiter and Saturn, who, of course, in the hierarchy of the solar system, we've got the personal planets, Moon, Mercury, Venus, Mars, and then we've got the transpersonal planets, which are Uranus, Neptune, Pluto, and so on. And in the middle, we've got Saturn, Jupiter and Saturn. And they represent so much of the, let's say, the social conditioning that we are or have become, and how much we can grow from that conditioning, because we get to know ourselves as we age, as we mature, as we become teenagers, adults, and so on, about our own Jupiter, which is our need to live our truth. The living truth, not the truth of our parents thinking you have to go, you know, to church on Sundays, or you must be like this as a young girl, or you must be like this as a young woman. All those kind of things, that conditioning, the way that we sort of hold our morals or what we were taught, are represented by Jupiter. And Jupiter, you know, growing up can represent, you know, that uncle that is jolly and happy and fun, that will teach us that life, it's much more fun than, you know, maybe what I'm getting here. And then Saturn is the grand master, who's the authority in our lives, the family, the father usually, or a teacher, a boss. But as we grow and we get to know our Saturn, we learn to become our own authority. So Jupiter and Saturn are the planets that really teach us how to work ourselves in social standing in the world, with our own rules, with our own morals, and not those that we have been taught. I mean, for some of us, those things that we have been taught are good. Of course, you know, we love what our parents have taught us, you know, parts of it, or what we've learned that is very important to us. So we keep those things. But we have to always keep updating that because we grow, we're forever growing. So with Jupiter, we learn to expand in our world. Like if we're not expanding and taking in new information, learning higher wisdom, then we're not growing. And with Saturn, if we're not, let's say, putting conditions on ourselves to build structures and to be more, let's say, together in a sense, then we could let all of our lives fall apart. So both are very, very important. You know, both have shadows, both have great qualities. You know, as we know, if we learn about Saturn, we can often think that it's the most difficult planet to let's say not understand, but, you know, kind of work with through transits. But the more we find out about Saturn and ourselves and how we may be letting others be controlling of our lives, the better we get at sort of making our own rules. And that doesn't work for us. I mean, that can be in marriage, in the way that we run our businesses. Learning about our Saturn will tell us exactly what we want to do. So, it also represents very much and shows in astrology what we are good at to work at. So what we do for work, so to speak, or how we're going to do that work. So I'm really looking forward to delving more and more into this course with all of you guys. The people that have already joined for the first module seem very, very happy with what we've been presenting. So I encourage, you know, all of you out there that haven't had a good grounding in astrology at some point to take advantage of what we're offering in this course, because first of all, I said this in the last video, you have 7 amazing teachers from, you know, not different walks of astrology, but, you know, as astrologers and teachers, we've learnt so many other different things on the way that we are, you know, we're going to give over to you as well and share with you our teachings. And I think that's really valuable in this day and age, to be able to have so many great teachers on board as well. So I hope to see you more during the course of the year. So thanks for that. And over to Ari. Oh no, Tim, sorry, Tim. Tim, over to you with Chiron and Uranus.
Thanks so much, Julia. Wow, this is so exciting. It's really, really fascinating and interesting to hear these astrologers give their own personal interaction with these planets, because like everyone is saying, I mean, these are the building blocks of our very experience of nature itself. These planets are massive, they're huge. We're going to be experiencing, exploring, and learning these archetypes now through the rest of our lifetime, and probably many lifetimes afterwards. And so I'm talking about both Uranus and Chiron, which are some particularly profound planets. I'm going to do my best to talk about these archetypes in just the few minutes that I have for today. And maybe what I can begin with is talking about somewhat of the similarity between these two planets and archetypes. And again, these are profound planets. They really deal with both the experience, the sense of fragmentation, incompletion, and woundedness, as well as the bridging together of fragments, completion, and healing. And so this embracing, or I should say, this coming together of the various parts of ourselves happens very much through the embracing of who we are in our total individuality. And both these planets very much take us on the journey of embracing who we are. With Uranus, it is through this somewhat detached and objective awareness, just as how Christina was talking about Mercury, the mind, really being a gift that can transfer various messages between the unconscious, the conscious, and particularly by having that detached awareness, we can understand these different parts and parcels and where they come from. And Uranus is that detached awareness. Uranus is the higher mind. And in that presence, in that awareness, it is possible to bridge the past, the present, and even the future by finding creative solutions through this detached awareness. Chiron brings healing awareness to where there is a sense of incompletion or woundedness or brokenness. And this healing awareness allows for such dynamics to be cleansed, to be healed, almost through a rinsing out of the wound. And so I think between both of these planets, Uranus and Chiron, which can deal so much with trauma and wounding, as well as the healing of trauma and wounding, there is this deeper wisdom of the hidden blessings in life that stems from this so-called or this apparent experience of imperfection. Each and every individual does experience this sense of imperfection or being incomplete or being on a healing journey in some way. And it's common for us to berate ourselves or to punish ourselves or to feel responsible for our own incompleteness, our own imperfection, when of course this is in fact nature itself. But the hidden blessing of imperfection is in the fact that things are not already totally complete and not already totally ideal or perfect. We get to live this evolutionary journey, which means that life can get constantly better and better. We're always evolving, we're always healing. And the real wisdom of Chiron in particular may be that the healing journey and the spiritual journey are truly one and the same. The so-called wounds and imperfections are actually a vital part of our soul's evolution. And so the archetype of Uranus is the function of liberation. Uranus is a higher awareness, which brings an awareness of our own personal limitations. Uranus is our total individuality, our total individuated consciousness. And Uranus brings awareness to any limiting conditions that restricts who we uniquely are. Who we uniquely are is not necessarily who we know ourselves to be. And Uranus can come around and wake us up to more of who we've known ourselves to be. Uranus therefore breaks down all that was known in order to bring in what is new. Previously unknown possibilities. What was previously unknown can be broken down into new possibilities. And so Uranus is this eureka moment, this sudden liberation, as well as this blueprint of the future, this potential, this improvement that we can be constantly aligning with. So fascinatingly, Uranus both breaks down and reconnects fragments of our consciousness. For example, we can go through an experience of sudden liberation where a wall gets knocked down, and it can be very shocking and very unexpected, but may go hand in hand with our own freedom or coming into a new chapter of our life. And similarly, Uranus can deal with the bridging together of vastly different dimensions. Uranus can deal with humanitarian movements, groups, the interconnection of different souls aligned with a similar intention or movement. So again, with Uranus, there's this wisdom of, through embracing our uniqueness and rejecting any unnatural conforming, we become who we truly are, as well as becoming agents of change and a pioneering vehicle out there in the world. Now, with Chiron, we're really talking about this wisdom and experience of the human being by embracing our own healing journey, our own unique healing journey. And so when we look at Chiron in our charts, we're going to be understanding how each and every one of us goes through a healing journey in a unique way. And this healing journey that is usually initiated through a sense of woundedness or incompletion, it provokes us to initiate this journey into discovering the medicine that can only be found by going into the wound or going towards where we feel hurt or where we felt neglected in the past. And again, there is this bridging, this weaving through bringing healing awareness to the wounds, bringing healing awareness to the past in order to resolve such dynamics. And so with Chiron, there is this paradox that we find our greatest gifts oftentimes in our greatest struggles. This is a profound realization that we can find completion in exploring where we feel incomplete. The wisdom of Chiron is wherever we are broken, wherever we have that sense of there being a whole or there being a fragment, it is this exact place in which the light enters, in which the medicine enters. There is always a hidden blessing and potential for productive learning, even in the most difficult experiences. Now, this is not what we would say to somebody when they're in the midst of a crisis or in the midst of a down experience. I wouldn't say, oh, no worries, it's all fine and it's all part of the good. You know, we don't push that on anybody, but rather it can be a part of our own soul's unfolding and evolutionary journey into our potential, that it's almost as far down as we can get into our shadow. If we can get into the nitty-gritty of our life, it's almost directly proportionate to the medicine, the teachings, and the discoveries that we can make along the way. So the wisdom of Chiron is the full spectrum, in many respects shapes us to be who we are, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And therefore, there is this transcendental medicine that by embracing the whole of our life, it allows us to be whole. By embracing the full spectrum, it allows us to be complete. The wisdom of Chiron is the spiritual and the healing journey is one and the same. There is no mistake for us being on the healing journey or having this sense of imperfection. Rather, our own experience of mistakes or brokenness is vital to our own human experience. And holding space and embracing this facet of the human experience is vital in allowing us to be the healers, the transformers, the way pavers, and the initiators that we can be by embracing progress and forward movement and the opportunity for things to get better and better increasingly. So thanks so much for your time to speak these words. Certainly there's so many more words I want to say, but I need to pass the torch on to Ari Moshe because he has some other incredibly powerful and profound planets and archetypes to talk about.
Ah, beautiful. I love the way you hold Chiron, brother. Hello, everyone. So I'm going to talk about, for you right now, Neptune and then Pluto. Maurice Fernandez is joining us for Neptune. He can't be here right now. We're very fortunate that he will be teaching on Neptune. Just to speak a little bit about his work, he wrote a book on Neptune. He's been teaching and researching this work for many years. And in my view, he is probably one of the forefront experts on Neptune from an evolutionary perspective in the world. So I'm going to offer some teachings on Neptune and then move into Pluto. Where we look at Neptune in our charts is where we each have the potential to understand and know and connect directly to our oneness with Source. And when I speak of Source, I'm also speaking about the idea of unconditional love, wholeness, truth, infinity, that which is eternal. Neptune represents unconditioned. The truth is unconditioned. God is unconditioned. Spirit is unconditioned. That which doesn't come and go, that which is eternally real and never changes according to circumstances. In our relationship, in our journey with understanding, connecting directly with this energy of unconditional truth, we inherently interface with, in our lives, all the places where we associate truth and meaning and God and the ultimate with condition. There's an inherent yearning within all souls to know of our oneness with Source because it's true that we are one with Source. This is universal for all of us to yearn and want to connect with something that's inherently more meaningful than just the temporal physical reality, the Maya, the reality of things just being what they seem to be in the physical. It's built into all of us to connect directly with something that's deeper, more meaningful, more encompassing, that basically says to us, you are okay. You are meant to be. This moment is meant to be. That life is meant to be. And the only place where we ultimately find that deep, forgiving truth of okayness is in the truth itself. Yet on the journey, for all of us, we will find ourselves associating ultimate meaning with all kinds of things that temporarily give us a sense of, I'm in the right relationship and everything feels good now. Everything is okay. I am idealizing one of my parents and it's perfect. They're perfect. Or I had the money I need now and I got the wealth that I built up and everything's okay. And what does Neptune do? One of my teachers beautifully has offered to me, whenever we draw the line in the sand, that's where the shores of truth will just come and wash it away. And it doesn't wash it away to punish us, right? It's because life is neutrally, dispassionately, inherently what it is. It's not going to cater to our illusions. And so we might interpret it as, oh no, what's going on? There's meaninglessness now. This perfect relationship has fallen away. My perfect parent is not perfect. The money that I built, suddenly my empire is gone. Why is God doing this to me? And so within Neptune, we could even develop a nihilism and a sense of emptiness and meaningless and even an anger towards reality, a distrust in reality. And so for all of us, and we can examine this in our own house and sign placement of Neptune and aspects it creates in our chart, it's where we are ultimately starting to understand, okay, maybe I should surrender to the ocean. Maybe this unconditional peace and well-being that I found in this temporary aspect of life, maybe there's something deeper than that. Maybe there's something beyond the comings and the goings and the conditions that I hold on to. And so we learn to spiritualize our lives and form a conscious relationship with what is eternally true without being naive, without imagining some kind of perfection that then eliminates healthy discernment and discrimination. So it's a beautiful journey of dissolving and surrendering and coming back to what is true, what is real. Okay, so Maurice is going to go beautifully in depth on Neptune for all of us. And I'll be speaking about Pluto. So, the further you go out from the sun, the more cosmic in consciousness it becomes. It's more transpersonal. It relates not as much to our conscious ego and the functions of daily human interaction. It becomes more and more about the reality of truth or the reality of the soul, that which is often beyond our conscious day-to-day, moment-to-moment awareness. When we get into Pluto, we're looking at the reality of the soul. And the soul, as I would like to define it, is just desire. Desire, the vibration of desire itself, is what brings us into this life. Each incarnation, and this is really sort of a foundation in the evolutionary astrology work that we'll be going very deeply into in future modules. Every incarnation is born as a result of the internal desires of the internal desires of the soul. When we leave the world behind in each life, what do we carry with us? Nothing except for vibrationally what we're holding on to. And in this moment, what are we carrying with us? Really nothing. Nothing's ours. We can't really possess anything. We might have things, objects, relationships, identities, roles, and if it's relevant to our evolutionary journey, these things will stick around. If it's relevant to our evolutionary journey, this body will stick around. But everything that comes also goes. So in truth, we can't possess anything, but we learn how to be in relationship with it and to engage with it work with it fully, go into it, play it out, experience it, learn from it, grow from it, realize more power within. And then when it's time for it to go, we let go of it, or it just goes. This is true for all of us and everything that we interface with in life. But in the present moment, when we really look inside and do the Pluto work, we actually find that the only thing that we are taking with us moment to moment is our internal vibration. And Pluto in our charts corresponds to where we learn to form a relationship to our desires. Not I'm hungry, I want to eat desire, but the deeper soul level behind the scene desires that bring us into this life. What am I here to experience? Why did I come into this life in this body, in this form, in this way, in this context? Why this DNA? Why these experiences? And it's not asking why so that we have a reason, like, oh, I did it for this reason. Okay, I know why. It's more like, why is all of this happening relative to where I have the opportunity to become even more self-aware? What's the lesson for me? What's the truth that all of life is reflecting back to me? And where we have Pluto is where we connect with that. We connect with our desire. What do we want to connect with? If we have a desire, an unresolved desire that brings us into this lifetime to experience fame and importance, social status, but we're not connecting with that, we might find ourselves getting jobs with people that maybe are very narcissistic, people that are very controlling bosses, that don't see us and don't recognize our hard work. If we have a desire to connect with our own power and authority and importance, but we're not connecting with that, that's going to be an unresolved shadow. And so often that expresses itself by other people that will take that space in our lives. Or the other end of that, if we're obsessed with, I need to be important, I need to be special, then we'll be manipulative so that we always seem like we're on top, so that people will always respect us. If we can actually connect with, oh, there's something in here, what is that? The further we go, we actually uncover that our desire is to unleash the power of our soul. In this case, this can be the inherent authority, the glory, the importance of our own soul. And we let that express. And that might mean coming to doing work that will be very impactful, but not because we're trying to be impactful, but we're following the impulse of our soul to do and merge and blend with whatever step is next in our own lives, and not to hold on to it, because everything that comes will also go. All right, so everywhere we have Pluto in our charts transiting is where we're uncovering more of our power, and it requires participation. It requires really getting to know our shadow, which also means our deepest fears, our deepest vulnerabilities, our obsessions, our impulsions, everything. All right, so I'll be talking about that, going really deeply into shadow and all the scary places that we often don't want to look at in our Pluto talk. And this will also be a great sort of launching pad for what we will continue to look into for the upcoming modules. Once we get Pluto down, we'll add more dimensions, starting to understand, according to the desires of the soul, why did we come into this life and why do we have this whole chart, right? Actually taking it together and looking into the context. How did we create this human life to evolve and grow and learn from? I hope you will consider joining us. If you haven't joined the first module, but you already had the basics in evolutionary astrology, this would be a great point to start. All right, much love to you all. On to Kaipacha.
All right. Just as he's talking about shadow, he goes into shadow. Did you see that? Oh my goodness. Thank you, everybody. That was really great. You can see how going through each one of these planets are symbols of different aspects of our psyche. I call them psycho-spiritual functions. So Mercury is how we think, and Venus is what we're attracted to, and Mars is how we act, and every, Jupiter, our belief. So each one of these planets, is this aspect of our psycho-spiritual self. And then each one of these planets acts within one of the 12 signs. So I was just calculating here. That would be 10 planets, 12 signs. That would be 10 to the 12th, or 12 to the 10th, is 62 billion differences. And then within a house, I am going to be going into each one of the 12 different houses. These are fields of human experience. So this is where the rubber hits the road. Okay, I'm going to share my screen a little bit. It's we want to take, so you'll take what you learned from module 1, all about the 12 basic archetypes, and then you will put a planet, okay, into that sign, and then put that planet in that sign into a house. And really, it all starts coming together. So the situation is, let's just take the planet Mercury, the way that I think. Well, for module 1, okay, it's my thinking, my left brain, the way I communicate, and my curiosity. And so you put that in the sign of Cancer, watery Cancer, okay, emotional and inward and feeling, and just all about nurturing and supporting and holding. So Mercury in Cancer is going to be somebody who talks about feelings and who doesn't forget things, and who really carries a connection between, okay, their head and their gut, right? And then you put that in the, let's say, then in the 6th house. So then the 6th house is, here we have this person who is thinking and in touch with their emotions and caring and nurturing. In the house of the 6th house is the house of health, of integration, of integrating my different aspects, or my different bodies, or my different chakras within myself, as well as the way that I integrate myself into the world. So it also has to do with my job and my work and the service that I give. So then we can see Mercury in Cancer in the 6th house. This is going to, deepen our understanding of, this person is really going to be actively working through talking or discussing or writing, okay, about, okay, it could be like a veterinarian caring for the little animals or the plants, or about health, diet, nutrition, Cancer, nurturing and everything. So we take, that's just one example of how you would take a planet, put it into a sign, and then put that planet and the sign into one of these 12 houses. So we will be talking about each one of these 12 houses, each one of these planets, and of course Chiron is not in there, but as Tim mentioned, we will be discussing Chiron extensively. So you can kind of see how, knowing the planets and the signs in the houses, you will begin to grasp the deeper levels of what a chart says about a person, about yourself. This is such a great tool for self-exploration that we're going to just and then of course there's module 3, where we go into the aspects, the conjunctions and the squares and the oppositions that I talk about in the Pele report every week, and how all of these planets are interacting and interwoven, and it's that deepens the whole picture even further. And then the 4th module is going to really be about putting it all together, and how to take all these pieces and these parts and synthesize them so that you can interpret a soul's past lives, where they're coming from, and their current soul intentions, and really I mean, the whole purpose and what I've been wanting to do all my life is bring more astrology into the world, because astrology is consciousness. It's a blueprint of your unconscious soul, and life is making the unconscious conscious. And I have found no better way, besides intimate relationship, to make your unconscious conscious than looking at the map of your unconscious consciously. It's a crazy Mercury day for me. So I just want to really share, my enthusiasm, and of course the whole dream team. We all really want to bring this to you, bring this to the planet, and just improve the best way to improve everything about our planet is to help everyone become more conscious. And so you can become more conscious of yourself, but then you can also use astrology and become an astrologer and help and just spread it. So let me share my screen and give you, just a little bit of what we have that's special for you today for watching. Yeah. So what we've got here is the complete course for chart interpretation. And if you want to go for the complete course, that's all 4 modules. Module 2 starts in February. Then we have another one starting in May and another one starting in September or something. So we have these 4 modules that will take you through this year, and you will come out by the end of 2019 really understanding more clearly what is going on in your life and in the world. Yeah. So what we have in this course is we each give a full video about these planets, and in our digital classroom. Then I showed you the workbook with exercises, and then all of our students, we've already got like 100 people signed up for this. So you've got a lot of other folks to bounce ideas off of and talk with each other on our Facebook group page, right? So learning together just makes it so much more fun. And then we have the online forum, where you can ask each one of us questions. We will be right there. We take it 1 week at a time. It goes for 7 weeks, and we'll have, boom, we'll be dealing with Mercury for a week, Venus for a week, Mars for a week, and just, go for a whole week. At the end of that week, you get a question and answer live webinar. So if you have any questions left, you got it. And then we move on to the next one. So this is, like we say, it's basically myself doing the sun and the houses, then Christina, Sol, Jules, Tim, Timothy, Maurice, and Ari. What we're going to be doing for you over the next 48 hours, if you want to sign up for this, we are going to be giving you a Kundalini Yoga video that I did, balancing the Vayus. Yes, this is very powerful means of connecting, right? I did a guided meditation into the underworld. So, and all about Lilith. She's not a part of this course, but I'm really into her. You can get this whole package that I did on everything about Lilith. So if you sign up by January 27th, 2 more days, 48 hours, at this time, boom, you're saving $80 and you're getting all these fantastic, goodies. Yeah. So you're only going to know about this if you watch this, video. So if you sign up for the complete course, you're going to also we're going to give you a month membership in the CIA, the Asteroid Goddesses by Sol, the Evolutionary Lessons by Sol, the Moon Workshop. I mean, these are all, in their very own right. We've got the Beginner's Guide. It's, this is an ebook. We've got videos. We've got, all kinds of gifts. Yes, that will just expand, broaden, widen your understanding of yourself and life through astrology like like, I don't know, no other. So, you know, if you really want to go for it and just get this whole course, if you didn't already, okay, module 1 is ready to go. We recorded the whole thing. We have the forum down, all the questions. You would be on the Facebook page and you could just listen to that whole, so it's not too late to catch up, you know. And you know, some of you may have skipped module 1 because you figure that you know the signs already and you just want to now jump into getting this, you know. But you know, if you want to go for the whole course, 48 hours, freaking go for it. Yeah. All right. All right. I want to bring everybody on board. Can we all turn on our videos? I'll do this gallery view. And dun, 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 we got the whole New Paradigm Astrology team. That is Daniela has also joined us. Daniela puts everything together and holds everything together. So she's part of our team also here. And we're sorry that Maurice could not be with us today. And Zoe is another helper that we have behind the scenes. But it's really a group effort that we're all with you, caring, sharing, and bringing as much as we can. So we all want to thank you for joining us today. We hope to see you in the future, and particularly in module 2. All together, namaste.
Namaste.
Aloha.
So much love.
Baby. Ow. Yeah, you guys. That's
We'll
great.
see you in module 2.
Yeah. Okay. We'll stop that cloud recording. Stop the live streaming.